Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Real World News TV. I'm one of your co-hosts, Reggie Kearney. Sharon Tappet, she's out tonight, a little under the weather. So we got the boss lady here tonight, producer, and all around Miss Do Everything, Miss Toni Breedlove. Toni, you are muted.
Hey, what's going on, Reggie? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Good, good.
Yeah.
How was your time off?
Oh, good, good, good. Well, you all that don't know that this is our first show of the year. We took off from the middle of November to the night. Get a little rest. Get kind of caught up, and so it was good. It was all good. So how you doing tonight?
I am okay. I'm gonna make it, of
You
course.
gonna
You know
make
how I
it?
do it.
Yeah, okay, okay. So we got a good show tonight. We just want to go back and hash over some things that have been happening. Um, in our country over the last couple of weeks. So, we just want to hash some old news because it's very important to go back and look back what's on. So, first thing we want to do is probably look at Voting Rights Act
Ugh.
that seems to be stalled in the U.S. Senate and Schumer. I guess because of some maneuvers they did over in the House, they'll be
Mm-hmm.
able to have conversation about it on the floor of the Senate and then take a vote, basically to show the country the people who are not in favor of the Voting Rights Act. So, what are your thoughts about this, Toni?
I don't even know where to begin with the voting rights. I mean, you know what? We still have states who are stuck in the 1950s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to be in the crux of trying to continue to fight for something as menial as voting rights when it's afforded every other citizen. You can look at, people that are coming here from other countries who gain citizenship, who then gain the right to vote. Whereas blacks have built this country. We've been here. And we're still fighting for the right to vote. And you've got you've got a president and a vice president and a cabinet that are just not, I don't think that they're pushing the right buttons when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the courts. I don't think that they're pushing the right buttons when we talk about the opponents, who we can say are Republicans, going into gerrymandering. They're not pushing the right buttons. They're not being forceful enough. They're not being aggressive enough. And yet, and still, when they don't, then what it does is it puts us at the disadvantage as Black Americans of how we're going to live, and do we have a say so to how this country is run
Mm-hmm.
when we pay taxes. We do everything that
Mm-hmm.
we're supposed to do as law abiding citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just, we're stuck in this era of the 50s and the 60s where it says that black lives and black people, black votes, it doesn't matter because they want to do whatever they want to do anyway, and that's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so many different things and so many directions I can go. Um, but I'm gonna let you have a little bit of it.
Well, the thing is, you listen to McConnell today on the floor, and he said that the Democratic Party is going after a power grab. What kind of power grab are you going after when you just want to make sure everybody has the luxury the ability to vote? What it is, they realize that the majority of the people in this country are Democrats, especially when it comes to blacks, and they know that this will allow blacks and the Democrats really to really gain control, so that's a fearful thing among them, but it shouldn't be. We should only be talking about the right to vote. You look at, you look at Florida. Florida's a good state to look at. Florida passed a bill years ago before the last presidential election where felons, you know, earned the right to vote once they served their time. But
Mm-hmm.
what did the 45 wannabe did down in Florida did, he got a bill passed that said before they could vote, they had to have all their debts paid,
Right,
meaning
the
any
restitution.
restitution,
Right.
anything that they owe the courts had to be paid. Okay, you're talking about what my figures might be off, but I think it was about 700,000 people
Mm-hmm.
that were eligible to vote.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that at seven. See, it was a time. When it was a time when the 45 wannabe was running for governor. That's what it was, and they knew if uh, uh, they allowed these men and women to vote, that the Democrats would have won the races in Florida. So they
Right.
threw a wrinkle in it. Uh, I think during that time, my fraternity, I was working with a group in the fraternity that we were monitoring voting around the country, and that was one of the issues. And we had talked to the guy who was heading up a project in Florida to try to help the guys pay the restitution, but they had to put a limit on what they could do as far as helping these men and women because some of them did have large restitution amounts that
Mm-hmm.
they just couldn't handle, but they could
Mm-hmm.
have smaller amounts. But like he said, it was just a ton of people to go through that you couldn't really put a dent in and make a difference. And hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
the next election in Florida, they've been and put a dent in it, and it can work. But it's all about control. A Republican colleague today, him and I had a conversation, and he was talking about voting rights issues and the problems they were having with voters. He said, you look at the 5 states that the orange head didn't win, he would have won if certain things had been in place. I said, wait one, what minute, okay? I said, I'm tired of hearing this BS from you guys. I
But
said,
the
I
thing
wouldn't, I
is,
wouldn't
though,
have a
Reggie,
problem. I told him I wouldn't have a problem with this, what you all wanted in these states, if you were looking at the state as a whole. I said, but when your buddy decided he wanted to challenge votes, where did he go? He went into the black community. He
right.
challenged votes in the black community. He didn't
But
challenge the votes in the states. He challenged votes in the black community. I said, then what in the, what does that tell you?
But see, the thing is, I mean, you said it best. You said that your colleague said that he would have had certain things happen if things were in place. Well, things were in place,
Mm-hmm.
and they challenged down to the point of voter monitoring. But that voter monitoring turned into voter intimidation,
Mm-hmm.
where they had, people from, the far right, from some of these supremacist groups hanging out at the polls,
Mm-hmm.
intimidating black voters or
Mm-hmm.
intimidating anybody who they felt were
Mm-hmm.
going to vote blue.
Mm-hmm.
So things were already in place. I mean, he just did not win the election. And
Yeah.
it was at every turn that he made to try and uh, disenfranchise what was in place. And
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
But the problem is that what we're going to run into now is that because we are fighting so hard for voters' rights, it's not an issue of voters' rights. It's an issue of closing polls, making it inaccessible
Mm-hmm.
to everyday people,
Mm-hmm.
which are in those, far out areas who do not have access or they don't have a way to the polls at certain time periods of the day. They're
Mm-hmm.
taking it away so that, in a lot of states where you can't vote after 5 o'clock. Well, how many
Mm-hmm.
people work till 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Or they're taking polls out considerably in certain areas. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes it a whole lot harder for people to vote. And those places that they're doing away with those polls are actually in urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not the matter of voting, it's the matter of making it accessible for
Mm-hmm.
people to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way they can do it. is to take away the voting polls, the polls
And,
themselves.
and I think it's a little of both because if you take away the polls, that does take away your right to vote. I mean, you look in Texas. I think Texas limited the 24-hour boxes to one per
Right,
county.
right.
Now, how in world in Harris County, which
It's
includes
the
Houston, Virginia,
largest.
how in the world can you put one box in in Houston in Harris County?
No.
You'll have lines for eons, okay? You
Yeah.
know, in North Carolina, they have if they can get okay, if North Carolina right now is trying to pass a photo ID bill, and it's
Hmm.
tied up in the North Carolina State Supreme Court, which is, if I'm not mistaken, predominantly Republican, and the court is saying no. Basically, they're saying no. It's got to be a better way. But what they did years ago, before the last presidential election, because they thought they would have this in place at that time, they closed down in the rural areas. They closed the MVA down in the rural
Mm,
areas, okay,
yeah.
which would hamper, first of all, blacks that don't have license, the elderly that don't have license. Now you got to figure out, you got to go on an average of 75 to 100 miles to get to an MVA
Right,
where you can get your voter ID.
right.
Okay. So I think we talked about this a couple of years ago. What is going to have to happen? You're going to have to mobilize everybody in these counties and take busloads of people to these MVAs where they might not all get taken in during the day because of hours and things of that nature. So they're definitely putting up the roadblocks. They're trying hard to put the roadblocks.
Oh yeah, and it all started because if you can remember, it started last voting season, um, and they were polling people were helping senior citizens
Mm-hmm.
to the polling places by chartering buses,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first step. Was to make sure that those people did not get an opportunity to vote. They pulled
Mm-hmm.
the rug right out from under them.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
all started there. Well, not started, but in our in our adult life, we can see these things happening, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the biggest blow.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the indication that it was just going to get worse.
Yeah.
As every trick in the book was going to be tried.
So in 2006, the Senate overwhelmingly approved the Voter Rights Act of 2006. So what's the problem there?
Say that
Other
again.
In 2006, the Senate overwhelmingly approved additions to the Voting Rights Act. Okay, no issues. You know, bill came up, bill passed, done deal. What is the problem there here in 2022 that makes these guys so scared of enhancing the voter right? Asking that this be a federal holiday. What's wrong with being a federal holiday? A lot of people have trouble trying to leave work to go vote. Okay, what's wrong with having enhanced
Well, see,
opportunities to vote by mail, things like that? The bill is not asking for a whole lot. Okay.
it's not, but you have to also take heed to the fact that you find more, not just African Americans, you find more Americans, period, who have become more intelligent and more information driven as to what goes on in our nation's capital.
Hmm.
So you have more people who have studied this over the last 8 years since Obama's last term. Over the last 8 years, that they are trying to get smarter, they're trying to gain more information on how government works. You you've got young people who are now more in the trench of learning about politics. So the more that people learn, the more people know, the more that they're going to vote. So that is why you find this problem. There's nothing wrong. I don't see how they're going to find anything wrong with something that was put in place in 2006. I don't know. It's already been shown and proven that there's not this big number or big gap or disparagement when it comes to voter fraud.
Hmm.
But that's still an issue for them. anything that they can try and figure out how they can put a roadblock up in, or how they can put a wedge between what is supposed to be your civil rights and your liberties, that is what they're going to do.
Mhm.
We are going right back in reverse.
And the few people that they got for voter fraud were Republicans.
The Republicans,
Yeah,
right,
old
right.
stinky looking Republicans,
It doesn't
wrinkled up.
even register a percent. That's
Right,
what's
it does.
and that's what's so ironic, is that, how can you continue to fight something that is not broken? How are you trying to fix something that it it's not broken?
Because once you plant the seeds and water those seeds, the growth from them seeds, you know, they blossom. I mean, you look at the orange head this week out in Arizona on Monday. I think had almost 40,000, 50,000 people in the arena.
Hmm.
Okay, those are 50,000 dirt piles that you plant the seeds in their brain. They're gonna believe whatever you say,
Yeah.
and that's what the whole problem is. These people are believing everything that comes out of this man's mouth as being the gospel, and so they buying into it. That there are problems, like you said. I think they said this election, the presidential election, was like 99.2% accurate. Okay, how much closer can 100% can you get? But he's planting seeds of doubt already for the next presidential election. So you got these militia groups out gunning up, rifling up, ammunitioning up for a war if the next Republican doesn't get in office, because the first thing they're going to holler is that the election was rigged. Tell
Well,
me how
but
this
they, but
last
they,
election was rigged.
yeah, but what they did just last year on January 6th is they actually sowed the seed.
No, he sowed the seed. He sowed the seed in 2016 when he came in office. He came in office saying, if I don't win again, that this was going to be a rigged election. If I lose this election, it's going to be rigged. And he went 4 years talking about this all the time.
This is true. This
Mhm.
is true. But the stamp was put on that letter on January 6th as to how people would react.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't be any different if he chose to run again. We're going to see insurrection once again.
But I beg to differ, because I think that stamp was put on it way back. I think what happened was, them fools they stormed the Capitol. I think they really thought that the Orange Head had put together a group of people from the Army or the National Guard that would come in and back them up in what they were doing. And I think they really thought that
Well,
that was going to be
yeah.
a war on Capitol Hill that day.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can remember when you go back and you look at some of the sound bites of him giving speeches saying, "Oh, I can go in the middle of uh, Times
Times
Square and
Square.
shoot somebody, and nobody would do anything about it. I wouldn't get arrested. And go
Mhm.
ahead, fight for me, do whatever you have to do. Go ahead and do the violent things, and I will take care of you.
Mhm.
My lawyers will take care of you." Do you
Mhm.
remember those sound bites?
Yeah. But look, what Rudy doing now? Rudy ain't got no money for a lawyer, and the Orange
No,
Head not even helping him. Okay,
he's not helping it.
he done left Rudy out there to hang out to dry. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
with his dumbness and everything. But we've got to figure out a way to get this country back right, where people believe facts and they don't get caught up in all the hoopla, of one person dictating and saying out the corner of his mouth what he perceives is the problem and everything. And see, I'm gonna tell you how uh, people have become idiots through this whole situation. The other side, the idiots on the other side. No other election, there was no other problem, none of the other elections on that day. Okay,
Hmm.
no problem with the local, no problem with the state, no
Right.
problem with the congressional
Right.
election, no problem. The only problem that was the presidential votes weren't correct. Now,
How is that?
yeah. So what if somebody with half a brain? They should be able to figure out why wasn't there problems with all the other parts of the election. We didn't hear no
Because those
complicated.
Well, I mean, because you go down the ballot, and they're all being cast,
Yeah.
but tallied separately according to office.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny how only the votes for the president
We'll mess with.
right, but you go down the ballot
Oh
and
boy.
you vote for your local officials, your state, and your congressional leaders. So he's an idiot. He's a fucking idiot. Excuse
But he
me.
got all he got a bunch an army of idiots following him. Okay. That's the whole
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
Whole army of
Exactly.
idiots are running right behind him saying, yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right. They stole the election.
Right, right. But
Oh,
what I find ironic though is that, and then we can move on to something else. But what I do find ironic is that when we were in the throes of uh, Trump's campaigning, him finally being voted into office, and all of these different things, you know, you had your black Republicans who were just standing and beating their chest. Where are they? I haven't heard a thing. Where are they?
you're not going to hear a thing, you know. But the Republicans, including the black Republicans, feel like they have it right. You know, they feel like they have it right. You know, and, it's going to be another turbulent. 2024 is going to be another turbulent time.
Yeah, I believe so.
You know, it's going to be. I mean, it's so bad that Canada is already putting things in place to protect their democracy if
Hmm.
things start going south here in America.
And you know what? That's really sad.
Hmm.
That's really sad that other countries will put things in place to protect themselves because they know that the United States is so screwed up.
Hmm.
That's really sad. And
Yeah.
this country used to be the leader of democracy,
Yeah. Used
you
to.
know.
Used
Yeah,
to be.
but how fast it turned around
Hmm.
in 4 years,
Hmm.
you
You
know.
know, it's like on the world stage now. You have Russia and China talking smack to the United States, and basically
Exactly.
what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
You know.
Who ever heard of such?
Yeah. I mean, Putin was scared of Obama.
Oh God, yes.
Who was scared of the Obama? Because Obama
Yeah.
jacked him up in the car and said, "You look at him, you're gonna try to do what you want to do and see what happens."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
now Biden in the United States is on pins and needles because Putin said, "Well, if I invade and you decide to bring economic sanctions against me, you're gonna see more things happen."
Exactly.
And China is fussing. You know, China is trying to make blame us for the ills of the world now, and they got all that cheap labor that they're using, and for the most part, the United States is turning away from doing business with them because of the cheap labor. And then they
Right.
get mad at the United States, following the United States for the economic drag around the world at this time. So I mean, it's a freaking mess, and you know, this is my thing. If I was president, I've been an arrested the orange head. Okay, simply put.
Mm,
Hey, okay, dude, you can post bond. You have to fight your way out of this. We got to
right.
get away from putting a stamp of approval on this idiot's addicts. Okay, he needs to be arrested and held accountable for everything that was done on the 6th. He needs. It was an insurrection.
Simple as that.
The 5 states that he lost, another bunch of idiots decide to put together affidavits stating that the orange head won those states. I was reading a piece tonight that the attorney general in Michigan, who's a Democrat, said those individuals, if convicted, would face
Mm,
19 years, at least 19 years to 20 years in prison.
yeah.
But this is stuff they got so caught up in with that dumb sales that he said do it, and they did it.
Yeah.
After we done seen on TV who won the states, they're gonna come to the Senate and hand out affidavits claiming that he won those elections. False affidavits.
It's a crock of shit.
You know, but
Excuse my language,
but then you take that and that, dig a little deeper. That's what's at the core of the racism that shows how racist this country is.
right.
Okay, it shows that they are willing to do anything to keep what they consider white power in power.
That's what it's about.
You know,
That's what it's about.
yeah.
It's always been about that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what else is going on in the news that's crap we've carried into 2022?
Well, policemen are still killing blacks.
You know what? And you mentioned that new case down in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
And I was looking for it because I wanted to get the whole story, but there's
Mhm.
really no way of getting the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. Let me look it up real quick.
Because I looked it up before I came on, and I was trying to get the excuse me, I was trying to get the gist of everything from that police chief, um, and I wasn't able to get because it's this back and forth whether or not he jumped on the car or whether he was hit. But the police chief is saying clearly that there was no indication of damage that would warrant them ruling it as this off-duty officer actually hit him and he flew onto the hood. But then the witness accounts, pretty match up as to, he was walking across the street, and that's where it became blurry to me. So I didn't get the gist of it. I just didn't. But your boy Benjamin Crump is on the scene.
The black attorney general.
He's on the scene. He's taking care of it. The black shooting Messiah.
Basically, you look at the father's account of it, you look at the neighbor's account of it, and one other person's account of it. He did run out from the yard. He jumped on the truck, okay? He tore off the windshield wiper, and he started beating on the window and everything, okay?
Well, they can't say why.
Right, and could they even ask the father to have mental issues, and the young man might have had a breakdown at that time. Who knows? Okay,
You don't.
but I'm not even concerned with his mental issues right now. I'm concerned what happened after he jumped on the truck. Now, the attorney for this officer is saying that this is self-defense. Okay, and North Carolina has a stand your ground provision.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things they got to fight. But when you look at everything, like, okay, one person said, a couple of the people say he was laying on the ground. The guy gets out the truck and shoots him. Okay.
See, that's what you told me.
Yeah, but see,
and I didn't hear that.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't even think the police chief in Fayetteville is really supporting this guy from his comments. Okay.
So what were his comments?
Everybody's saying that this guy did not pose a threat. Okay. So they say, okay, so someone said that, I think the lady said, so we were driving up, but he was already on the ground, but he was in the truck, and he came up, and I don't know what exactly happened. He got on. I don't know if he got onto the car, he was hit, actually hit. I don't know. So the woman says her name. I don't understand. They were in a big car. He didn't have anything on him or anything like that. Speculation, I don't know if he was mentally unwell. I didn't see him pose a threat. Rick says to the officer, who then asked whether Walker was already on the ground when Hart shot him. Yeah, it's like he hit him and then just got out and then just shot him.
Wow. So he was on the ground and he fired.
And he was on the ground.
Into his body.
Again, it shows the mental instability of a white officer thinking that they can use this. Yeah, they can kill a black man based on stand your ground.
Because he broke a freaking windshield wiper?
Yeah, and beat his window. and then he can crack his window. How in the world you gonna bust a window with a windshield wiper? You know, and I think uh, one of the things that these so-called right now, I'm losing love for police officers. I have a
But
lot
you
of
know
friends.
what? I've already lost love for police officers a
I
long
have
time ago.
friends. I have friends who are police officers and uh, relatives, and I know police officers, and we got some good police officers out there. Okay, and we got some good ones. But then you got the bad apples in the basket that keep on forgetting and realizing that people are watching them. Okay, so they go out and they want to destroy people. You laying on the ground.
But the
Okay.
thing is that it's just another excuse to say I felt that my life was threatened. It's just another excuse to say here's another black man that we're going to denigrate in the news and in the social media and in hell, just all over the country. We're going to denigrate another black man. And it's going to be okay that we do this because we're showing that they have a bad side. And it's okay to just gun down a black man, whether he had mental issues or not. We don't know. How do we know he wasn't running for somebody and he was fleeing for someone to help him? You
Yeah.
don't know.
This is what this ridiculous officer said. I had a male jump on my vehicle and break my windshield. I just shot him. He jumped on my vehicle. I just had to shoot him. I just had to
Oh,
shoot him.
wait, hold on.
You
I
know.
just had to shoot him, but if he was in such threat, then don't you think he would have shot through the windshield?
Yeah. He just wanted to kill a black man. He even said I stopped so I wouldn't hit him, and he jumped on my car and started screaming. Pulled my windshield wipers off and started beating my windshield and broke my windshield. I had my wife and daughter in my vehicle. Had said.
Do you know what I see a lot of here in Vegas as we're talking about, this man crossing the street?
Mm-hmm.
I see, and a lot of times I have to try and think, well, no, I'm just probably, oversensitive,
Mm-hmm.
because I love black people.
Mm-hmm.
But I see when there are folks that are crossing the street, and you can be sitting at a light and you can see it. You can watch, to your left, the corner
Mm-hmm.
when people are crossing the street, and white people will try you.
Hit.
Yeah. They see you step off that curb, and I mean, your foot is just right, right there in the street, and they turn right upon you.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that happen more times with blacks, and especially black women with their little babies and strollers, than I do with white people. They have all the utmost of courtesy for white folks
Mm-hmm.
crossing the street. But that's what that reminds me of. And I can almost, I don't want to say I want to bet that he was so close in that crosswalk that it probably angered that man.
Well, the father said he tried to stop him. The father said he came out the house running. He tried to stop him. The father doesn't know why what made him
Just
go to
dart
the
out.
kitchen. What made him do what he did. But does that mean you get out the car and shoot him? Why?
No,
Why couldn't he just get out the car off duty? I'm pretty sure he has handcuffs. Why couldn't he just got out his truck, showed him his badge, and said, "Young man, you're under arrest for destruction of property"?
that's it.
He didn't
That's
have
simple.
nothing. The young man didn't have nothing. How you gonna kill me with a? You
That's
gonna beat me to
simple.
death with a windshield wiper? Come
That's
on, man.
simple. But
But
again, it's a black man, so it's
yeah,
not that simple.
and it goes back to the point where you hear so many times that these members of these racist organizations now aren't wearing the white hood and all this kind of stuff and Nazi uniforms. They're just regular everyday folks working in the police department wearing uniforms or street clothes or whatever. But that mentality they have towards a black man has not changed.
It's
And
still there.
for them, it's a badge of honor to kill a black individual,
Right.
and that's what it boils down to. Oh, I got a notch in my belt. I killed a black man. Now he's going to use stand your ground to try to beat this case. It's going to be very hard for him to beat a case where you got three witnesses and this young man didn't have anything. All he did was jumped on top of your truck.
I hope you're right.
But the officer said he did not hit him. Okay, he did not hit him. The guy, it was like he saw him coming, he stopped, and the guy jumps on his hood. Okay.
So you sit in your car and figure out, okay, what is this man doing?
Yeah.
And let it play out.
Yeah. So did he was really that afraid of a person just broke off his windshield wipers? You can get those fixed. It's going to be a lot more. Like I said last year, as we came out of the cases for last year, that this is going to be a continuous cycle even this year. You just don't know when it's going to happen.
Right.
There's going to be another officer killing of a black man or a black woman before the summer even gets here. It's going to happen.
Yeah, but it's going on more than we hear about. I mean, I think that, the pandemic has overplayed all the news stories, and we're not hearing as much because there's a case here in Las Vegas where a young man was in his apartment now. They said that they were going to serve a warrant, but only to find out after they killed him that he was not the suspect at all. And they said that they had entered the apartment with a no knock, and the boy was asleep on the couch. He had a gun by his side, and they startled him, and he picked up the gun and he fired. And they killed him. I can't remember how many rounds, but it was overkill. It was complete overkill. He struck one officer, I believe, in the arm or something like that, but only to find out that the boy was not the suspect. He was not the subject of their warrant.
Now, is Nevada open carry state? So, did the young man legally have possession of the weapon?
I don't know if he had legal possession or not. I don't know if it was legal or not. It is an open carry state, so it's hard to say because I haven't heard anything else on it. I think they're gathering more information, but I just thought that it's crazy. You have a no-knock warrant, and you just burst into someone's apartment. They're on the couch asleep. You startle them, and he does not have a right to pick up the gun to protect himself. He doesn't realize he's in the dark. They were in the dark, and they had on tactical gear, so they could see him. The boy couldn't see them.
And they went in with the idea: we either capture this person or we shoot him and kill him. They already had that. They already had that. If he does anything to resist, let's kill him.
Capturing him would be too much paperwork.
Yeah.
That would be too much paperwork and too much right. But they do what they do because, these city and state laws, county laws, they're not tight enough on police reform. They're not tight enough on training. They're not tight enough on how they are supposed to carry out a warrant. Not until maybe the last 5-6 years that I've heard of a no-knock warrant. I've never heard of a no-knock warrant until just over the recent years.
I didn't hear about it to Louisville. That's the first time I heard of no-knock warrant.
Right.
It was in Louisville with Brianna.
Yeah, and that's been over the past several years. But that idea, I think, a no-knock warrant puts more and more people at risk for losing their lives because now you have a lot of people who are armed. They have taken up their rights to bear arms.
Yeah.
And you have a technical team that's going in who is, shielded from the gills. and they can see you because they have on night vision, but you can't see them.
Right.
So why wouldn't you have a knock warrant?
Mm-hmm.
I see. I don't get it. It's more leeway to kill black folks.
Yeah, and I think the police have gotten out of hand with the power that's been given to them. They don't know how to use the power that's been given to them, and this is what happens. People are getting hurt, and like you said, right? You don't hear about everything that happens in the communities. Like I said one time, one show last year, it's not just white cops; it's black cops doing the same thing too. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can come to the predominantly black county next to me in Prince George's County,
Hmm.
and you got blacks over there, black officers jacking up citizens. Okay, so it's an equal opportunity situation, but I think the problem you have is that every time a black man gets shot, it's at the hands of a white
As a
officer.
white
Okay,
officer.
and
Yeah, I
we
agree.
might, black officers might assault a person, they might beat him with a billy club or something like that, but they're 9 times out of 10 they're not going to shoot them unless
Right.
they feel threatened already that they have to shoot them. But white
Right.
officers are just taking a stand. If you breathe wrong, you gone, you dead. Okay, simple as that, and they don't care.
Yeah. The threat of the black man.
Yeah, you know.
You know.
If have you been watching the show on ABC, the Emmett Till show program?
No, and I want to.
Oh
I
Lord,
don't know
have
when I'm
mercy.
gonna find time.
Oh,
That's
find time, please. If you look at it in bits and pieces, find time.
really.
It's well put together show, and then they do a commentary after the show. I find the commentary has been better than the actual movie, itself, but the movie has been
So
great.
it
You
does portray his life and the incident of which took his life.
Yeah, yeah, all the
Okay.
way. I've learned new stuff from it,
Really?
because what you're taught and what you hear is just the bottom pit. Young black kid killed in Mississippi, body
Right.
mutilated, brought back to Chicago, big funeral, part of the civil rights movement. But they go from A to Z with
Really?
this, okay? But I'm using this as an example to show how the treatment of how black males have been treated. And this wasn't even an adult male, okay?
No, it's a
This is a
child.
child, you know. And one of the things they do that the the lawyers for those two idiots who killed them was trying to portray him as was a they were trying to portray him as a black man,
And a
because
threat.
yeah, and a threat when he had just turned 14 when he went to Mississippi. Okay, so the thing is, they knew that the sentiment in the United States would have even been worse if they had just used a black child. Okay, so, picture him as a black child. But when you go through and see, I'm telling you,
Well,
Tony, you got
that's how those guys got off of that with Jameer Rice's
yeah,
case.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, he was a baby
yeah, baby with a plate of
with a
a
toy
toy.
gun.
And an officer could have walked up with a bulletproof vest on and took a hit if it was a real gun and still been able to wrestle the gun away from a kid.
You
But
could tell by just the perception of depth in the
yeah,
video that it was a child.
yeah,
So I'm sure in real
mhm,
life, when you get up on this person, you drive up on this person,
yeah,
you see this as a child.
yeah,
And
and
Emmett Till was a child.
yeah, and to hear his relatives talk about the relatives were with him that night when he was taken to the house, his cousins and stuff. Like the one cousin, and I don't want to give away too much of it to you because I want you to see it. But one cousin, the cousin that was in bed with him, okay, when the guys came in there, they said, they said, where are the Chicago boys, okay? And he said when he heard that, he thought he was going to be gone too. So the uncle took him back to the bedroom where they were and said, "No, we want that one right there, the little fat one, and everything."
Uh-uh.
And and it's just, I mean, gosh,
I
you know,
don't know if I could watch it, Reg. You know how
you
I
can,
am.
Tony, you got to watch it. It's, I mean,
I'll be out
she should
there
get an
acting
Emmy.
a
She should get
fool.
an Emmy for that show.
Really, it's
for
good.
that
Huh?
movie. You know, it's on point. She took time to go through the court records and research
Really?
it. Yeah, because she was on what show? She was on Tamron Hall show yesterday or today. Yeah, she was on the Tamron Hall show
Mhm.
today. The lady who wrote the screenplay for it,
Right.
and the lady who plays Emmett Till's mother. And she
Mm,
said she went from point A to point Z in researching it, and I mean it is well put together.
I bet.
I mean,
I
yeah,
bet.
yeah.
I'm
So
gonna have to start watching.
yeah, yeah, it's like it is on point. It just shows you the hatred that white men have had for black men over the years, you know, and for some, they continue to have that same amount of hatred, you know,
Mm,
and you know, this is a problem. We have been fighting racism since we got here, okay?
right.
You know, we faced the white supremacy when they took us from Ghana.
Right.
Okay, and we've been fighting, you know, white supremacy and racism ever since they took us away from our mother country,
Right.
brought us here to the United States, and it continues on because they saw us as animals, they didn't see us as humans, and they have passed that learned behavior down through the generations to their kids. So you think that somewhere along the line it would die? It doesn't because the parents keep teaching it to the kids,
Oh
and it keeps
yeah.
keep being taught, keeps getting pushed
Yeah.
down. You know, and you
Yeah.
still have the issues when you look at these
Yeah.
so-called GI Joe boys, or they want to play soldier. You know, and these militias, you know, going around, you know, spewing hatred here in America.
See, that's the whole reason why the 1619 project is
Yeah.
so important because they're trying to keep that history, pushed down.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes their case even stronger as to feel the way that they feel,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why it's so important that, we teach our children, our
Right.
grandchildren, about the correctness of
Mm-hmm.
history, our history. And, to take it a step further, it's not just our history. This is this nation's history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you start, raising your hand to your chest and over your heart to pledge allegiance to this country. This is the same country that has called you an animal
Mm-hmm.
from 1619 to 2022.
Right.
And it's important that the kids, not just black kids,
Mm-hmm.
white kids need to know.
Yeah.
Maybe then they would have some empathy to break the chain as to what they have been taught
Mm-hmm.
in their own homes.
Yeah.
It's important.
And liberty and justice for all. That's hard
Yeah, yeah,
because you see
yeah,
it every day where we don't have the justice that we deserve.
yeah, because it makes you question what all.
Yeah.
What all
I
are you
mean,
talking about?
we got to go through trials and go and witness trials that we have to wonder if we're going to win those trials. You know, it
We
should be an
watch it
open
play
and shut
out like a
case.
sporting event. We
Yeah,
watch it play out like a sporting event.
yeah. It should be an open and shut case, but we're on pins and needles. Oh, they're white and he was black. They killed him. Will the courts convict him?
Yeah,
You know, and I think the only reason these convictions are coming along because you have to go along with the video. When you see these videos, you can't sit and watch a video and say that the person was innocent. Not, and that's how the Emmett Till case was. After
but
all that they did, they come and say, "Hey, they're innocent."
we saw video as far back as Rodney King.
Yeah, but that was a jury, and why? And what I can't figure out why the jury wouldn't
These are
convict him.
all the juries that are making the call.
Yeah, you
They've
know
all
why
been
did?
on the jury.
Well, I think things have changed a little bit, okay, and I think people realize with all the Ahmaud Arbery case, uh,
Yeah,
that
that's
he was hunted
huge.
down like an animal.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, and then you take the police officer in Wisconsin. I mean, it's obvious she hollering taser, 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 and she's got a gun in her hand. You can't see gun in your hand,
Right. Right. She knew.
and you done broke
You know.
policy because they tell you on a misdemeanor don't even mess with them. You had the boy's address. All you had to do is
Exactly.
drive over to the house and pick him up.
Exactly. Exactly. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah. So those jurors in those cases had to um
They
uh,
weighed the evidence.
yeah, weigh the evidence. Now when you go to Fayetteville, there is I think there is some body camera, but I don't think it's
But
enough. So that's
it's
gonna
not.
be a fight in Fayetteville to get this officer convicted.
Yeah,
You
because
got three
it's more
witnesses.
after fact.
Yeah, you
It's
got three
more after fact.
witnesses with a jury, which are probably mostly white. Are they willing to convict him on some type of charge to hold him accountable for killing this young man?
You know what? Unfortunately, Reg, I wish I could say that I was as confident as you.
I didn't say I was confident there. I'm just wondering if they're going to convict him.
Oh well,
Yeah,
I don't
because
think so. I don't think so.
but he's laying on the ground.
I don't think so.
It's not like he's gonna spring back up in there like Spider-Man and grab you.
You know what's going to be the weighing factor for that case is that stand your ground. And as long as you can prove and stand your ground that you were under threat, and if the jury sees it that way, that he felt in fear of his safety, not his life, because the law reads you have to have a fear of your safety. Doesn't say life. As long as you have that fear, you can act accordingly for protection. We saw it in the Zimmerman case.
Well, they better lock up the gasoline station.
Well,
Because those people in Fayetteville are gonna be upset. It's gonna
it
be
is going
upset.
to be. It's going to be what it's going to be. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's unfortunate that I have to say that I have gotten used to seeing shit burn.
Yeah.
It used to be where I would say, "Oh my God, they're tearing up their neighborhood," and now I'm like, "Shit, burn it down."
Yeah.
And if that's the way you have to make a point,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
just like the case in Elizabeth City where the guy he jumped in his car. He was definitely going away from the police officer. They felt like they were threatened with the car. They opened fire on the car, killed him.
that's
Nothing
as
happened.
bad as shooting somebody in the back.
Yeah, nothing happened to him. So I mean, the police department, they have enough crap shielding them where it's hard to really break that, the barrier. I give it to our sister Dorsey, for doing the work that she does. Because I know she lives on a cloud of threats from police
Yeah,
officers, and I know even when she's at home in LA, I'm pretty sure she's driving the streets or she has a driver because they might pull her over one night. Some old cocky redneck officer might pull her over one night
right.
and recognize her and say, "Sure, yeah, okay, it's just you and me right now."
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, they don't like what she did. But I think one day, I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime, I think somebody's gonna tear that blue wall down completely. You saw that.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah, something because you saw it in the case with George Floyd. A little piece of it fell apart. And they were really surprised that the police officers would come forward and tell the truth and not
Yeah,
support this guy, support that guy. And the same thing, if you look at the other case too, where the young man got shot, when she was talking about taser, 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 the officer that she was training, he told just like he saw it.
oh, he did.
Yeah,
He did.
he's gonna have a hard road to travel if he stays with that police force.
Well, yeah, because he crossed that blue wall.
Yeah, but he told just like he saw it. A B C D. This is what happened. Hey, she did it. I ain't do it. It wasn't mess up hollering taser, taser, taser.
Right.
You
Oh
know,
my God.
you know, Walling on the ground like a little baby. I shot him. I shot him. I shot him. Still.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-mm.
Well, we've come up to the end. You've got 3 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to say?
No, I'll tell you, I guess Dr. King he keeps rolling over in his grave.
Oh, I know he is.
You know, with this country, it's just going backwards, backwards, backwards. The voting
Mhm.
rights, they can't even pass a simple rights act, and then things are just going backwards.
Because I know John Lewis is, he's stomping.
He might come up out the grave.
He's stomping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
But, all we can do is continue to keep our heads about ourselves and be aware,
Yeah.
that these things are, they're coming to a head.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to come to a head. And
Yeah.
people are not going to, they're not going to stand for
Mm-hmm.
the things that our ancestors have stood for.
Oh no,
This,
like you said, we got a group of young people that are getting smarter and smarter, and they're paying
yeah,
attention.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
paying attention. You know, so we got to
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah. That's what they're supposed to do. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out, all right. So, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight to Real World News TV. I was sitting in for Cherry Ann Tappan. She is a little under the weather, but I do want you to send your prayers up for her, good thoughts, and hopefully she'll be back in the next couple of weeks. Um, Tomorrow night, usually Hot Topics Talk Radio would have started because we all start at the same time. But I found out some information this afternoon that we're going to have to forego the show for Hot Topics for tomorrow night. So Yvonne and I will not be on air. However, the following week, I believe it's the 26th, you can look for Miss CC Pettiford to come in on Wednesday night on the 26th. She'll be coming in once a month on Wednesday nights. And we're just prepping her for her new show. And you can come on in and you can listen to Miss Cece as she cuts it up. Okay, and that's next week on the 26th. But I do invite you to come back here to Facebook and tune in to Truth Brothers TV with Ray Gage and Devon Patrick. They got a great show opener for you. So they've got that lined up for you to have some fun. So make sure that you come on back here Thursday night for Truth Brothers TV. Thanks again for watching Real World News TV. Make sure that you follow them on Facebook, and that way you'll get show notifications of the shows that are coming up. But until then, we're going to bid you a wonderful night. And again, we thank you for tuning in. And we will see you back here next week. Real World News.
Peace. Good night, everyone. Have a good one. Bye
All
bye.
right.
Talk to
Night,
you later.
everybody. All right. See you soon. I'm trying to get out of here. I didn't take any of the banner stuff down. You were supposed to remind me.
Turn it off.
Sounded like Teddy Pendergrass.
Turn it off.
All right.
Good
So,
life.
we're out of here, y'all. Have a good night.
Okay.